All right, welcome everybody. This is a continuing series of the Ask the Building Expert webinar program. We've been running this for the past year, last year, and then also continuing this year. I'm going to introduce Martin Pea. He's the back-end IT guy. He's in charge of Zoom and whatever else. Questions. He's going to be checking the Q&A in the chat. So if you're on Zoom, our Zoom platform, you can post questions to the chat or the Q&A. If you're on Facebook, you can post your comments on Facebook. You're welcome to log on to our Zoom platform as well. So let's go right into it. We're actually providing this information to help building owners, condo associations, property managers, homeowners, and more. I was fortunate enough to, let's see, when was it? In December and January of this year, to go up to New York first and inspect a building that has like alleged 1,500 construction defects, and then also the Millennium Tower in San Francisco that's actually sinking. And I have the photos that you can see. Let's go right into it. The topic is actually developer transition, broken promises. And this is a hot topic because there's so many condo buildings being built, especially around the Kaka'ako area. And thank you everybody for attending. And by the way, there's people that are attending that are in different states around the United States, and then also some foreign countries. So I'll be talking about certain areas specific to Honolulu, like Kaka'ako, which you probably don't know where it is, but it's mainly centrally located between Honolulu and Waikiki. And that's the hot spot now for a lot of high-rise buildings going up. There's probably 35 to 40 high-rise buildings planned to go up in that general area. And that's where the hot spot is now for development, although there's development projects on neighbor islands as well, and in different parts of the island, not only in the Honolulu proper. But basically, this webinar applies to any condominium project or homeowner association or community type projects. And you may not know this, but the majority of properties being developed now in Hawaii and even throughout the United States are association or community type property, where each house or condo owner belongs to an association. And that's the trend nowadays. So in Las Vegas, it's happening in Atlanta, Georgia, all over the place. So the information I'm going to explain to you applies to any of those types of properties. Okay, and no matter what legal definition of the property is, whether it's a condo or whether it's a homeowners association or anything like that. The only thing that it doesn't apply to is an apartment building or a commercial building that does not belong to an association. And lately, there's many commercial buildings being built that are office condos and even industrial warehouse condos, where each owner owns a piece of the property. So that would apply to any kind of association type property. So let's get right into it. Developer transition defined. What does that mean? And basically, it means that the developer is handing over the keys to the condo association to on a turnover. So the definition is the process of the developer, the real estate developer, turning over control of the property to the homeowners association or AOAO, Association of Apartment Owners. There's different terms like AU, Association of Unit Owners and that kind of thing. Basically all mean similar, where every unit owner is a part of the main association. And on bigger properties, there's sub-associations, like say in Princeville, Kauai, where you have numerous condo projects being built, townhouses and all that. Well, it's already built, but you have, it's almost like a subdivision of condominium projects, and each type of project, one project, there's its own association, and that property belongs to a bigger association, and then those bigger associations belong to a master association. So it gets kind of confusing. And then to confuse the issue, you may have a condo, high-rise condo being built, and in Honolulu or anywhere across the US, and it not only has residential units, but on the bottom, it may have commercial units as well, like office or retail stores and that. So it can get pretty confusing at times, but the main thing is they're all under an association. There's sometimes on a property, there may be one building may have two separate associations, one separate for commercial and one separate for residential. But not to confuse the issue, let's get right down to the down and dirty. So tracking the requirements. So let's say a property is newly built and it's time for the developer to turn over the property to the homeowners association. How do you track the requirements, and what requirements are there anyway? So let's go down the list. There's state statutes, which governs what the developer can do, should do, and what the homeowners association should be doing, and even the property management company that manages community or condo associations. So in addition to the state statutes, which is the law, there's actually common law or common sense items. And for protection of the homeowners association and the condo unit owners, and let me explain that every condo unit owner is also an automatic member of the homeowners association. You can't automatically quit and say, I don't want to be a member. By virtue of you being a condo owner, you're already part of the homeowners association. Now, you don't have to participate in anything, but you can't quit and say, I don't use the swimming pool, so I'm not going to pay my maintenance fee. You know, you can't do that. You're stuck basically, and that's what owning a condo is all about in some respects. So there's some tips to track the requirements on the turnover. You have to be cognizant and understand what the state law is regarding the transition. You also should have a transition team. And what is a transition team? Well, the transition team would be made up partly of the developer's reps, but for the most part, the transition team should be the homeowner association representatives, which means the property manager, board members, maybe some experts that are hired, third-party experts. And it's very important that all the financials from the developer be audited. So if you have a CPA that the board hires, that's good. If you have somebody that's a CPA or an accountant that knows how to review financials, you could use that person. Maybe that person's on the board, or maybe that's on a special committee. It's probably wise to form a transition committee, and then you have all these people in it that are on the committee that may not necessarily be on the board, but they could be a unit owner who volunteers to do that because that guy is an architect, engineer, or a CPA, or he's familiar. Maybe he works for a property management company or something. Okay, so you want to get professionals involved. look through the documents that are turned over, review all documents. And what kind of documents do you need to review? Well, I'll explain that later, but it's very important on the financial side because that will dictate how much money the developer is going to be turning over and for what reason. And I've experienced after review of financials where the developer did not turn over the correct amount of money and the association was stuck. And when I mean the right amount of money, I'm talking about it was less money than they should have turned over. And once the developer goes bankrupt or goes out of town or doesn't cooperate, then you're not in a very good position. So that's why you need to do all these things up front and at that time. You don't want to find out 2 years later that there was errors made and the association was actually owed more money or owed more documents or that kind of thing. So the other issue, and this is very, very important, property inspections. Okay, and who's going to do the inspections? Well, I would say your property management company, your property manager can do it, or they can recommend somebody if they're not versed or experienced in doing inspections. Board members can do it, or volunteer unit owners who know how to do inspections, or even if they don't know how to do it, it's good to have a lay person be there also or on the committee, but it's good to have professionals. So in other words, if I was on the board, I would reach out and ask unit owners, do we have any architects or engineers or any inspectors or people who know how to do these inspections and know what it's all about, and see if you can get volunteers. And you also would retain third-party experts. And third-party experts are somebody that has experience in doing these transition inspections. It could be one person or it could be a company. And these experts would be people who, let's say, do structural inspections, total building inspections, or specialized electrical, mechanical, and then other areas like the roof or landscaping or ground. So you may retain architect or engineers, or you may want to hire contractors who are specialists in different components of the property. We're talking about a multi-million, piece of property. If you're living in a townhouse project or a high-rise building, all the new high-rise buildings now are multi-million dollar, maybe $1 billion in value. So you don't want to skimp on this. And here's a caveat. When you're setting up your transition team and you're hiring experts and people, do not hire the same people or same companies that work for the developer. That's already a conflict. So you want to hire a neutral third party that has no relationship to the property at all and come in with fresh eyes and ears, and they're not biased because they already work for the developer and they want to do a watered down inspection and not list a lot of things. So that's very important. If you think about it, it makes sense, right? So that's, to me, a key component. You may also, a lot of condo boards, they have different committees. Like one of them is a building and grounds committee. So you may want that set up, and the people on that committee help do the inspections too. And let me make it clear, I'm not talking about setting up this whole transition team 2 years later. I'm talking about setting up the transition team at the time or earlier when the transition happens. So I know the board may not get officially started yet, but once the board is officially in place, that's when you should appoint a transition team and start hiring experts and getting these inspections done. You don't do it 1 or 2 years later. That's way too late. You have to do it right away. So I would say my recommendation as a professional is within 1 year, start the process, um, and have all these things completed. Have your financials reviewed, the money side of it looked at, have your inspections completed within 1 year. Okay, you could go within 2 years, but the sooner the better, because it takes a long time for the procedures to happen. And when I say procedures, I'm saying that if by chance there's a problem, there's a alleged construction defect, and you catch it within, the first year or the second year, that's the time you write to the developer and say, hey, we think we have a problem here. Can you investigate it and check on it? You don't talk amongst yourselves and say, well, what do you think? Do you think this crack is structural? Well, I don't know. Maybe we should have our resident manager look at it, or follow up, or the building manager or something. And then, let's talk about it at a board meeting. Sooner or later, you're in year 2 and no one's talked to the developer or anything, right? So I'll explain what happens when the developer gets notified, and then you can, get a prize of that kind of thing. Now, keep in mind that if you're a condo owner and you just bought a new condo, or you're gonna buy a brand new condo, guess what? You have no say, you have no inspection rights to go to the condo and look while it's being built, right? So what happens is, after the condo's built, then you get invited by the developer to go look at your condo, okay? So this is all after the fact. So you're not there watching. So for instance, if you bought a piece of land and you're building a house, okay, and this is not a condo now, you're building your own house, a single family house, you hire the contractor, and you're basically a developer. So you can go every week and look at the progress and monitor it and talk to the contractor and say, hey, John, I noticed that the window isn't where it's supposed to be. And, John, the contractor, can say, oh, well, we have to move it a little because this beam was in the way, and, otherwise the door wouldn't fit, or whatever. So you're there, every week or every month looking at things, and you can make your comments. You can't do that on a condo project. They don't let you. And when you do go, it's like your unit's already completed, and that's your chance to look. And then you only get one shot to inspect it and sign off, and then that's it. You're done. And so that's been a problem. And I'll explain more later. And sometimes, I don't like things, and I'll just let you know. Okay, so getting back to the documentation, the turnover is very critical. And what kind of documents are we talking about? We're not talking about like a few pages or a little brochure that has copies of your warranties, or copies of who to call when a pipe leaks or if something doesn't work. Okay, that's good. But what I'm talking about is, and these documents are required and needed at the transition. At the time the developer turns the property over, you want all these documents. You don't want to get it a year later, because you need time to review it, study it, and act upon it if there's something out of place. So let's go down the list. Plans and specifications. And I can tell you this, on a large high-rise building, let's say it's 40 stories, the buildings that are going up now, it's a 40-story building. The plans and specifications, the roll of plans or plans could be weighing like 50 or 60 pounds. And there may be several rolls. The book of specifications could be the size of, remember in the old days we had the yellow pages? It could be that. I've seen specifications for high-rise projects that were 4, 5, 6 times the size of Yellow Pages. And we're talking, multiple thousands of pages, and you want all that. Does the developer gladly give it to you? Maybe not. You also want copies of every single warranty, all the warranties, everything on the property that's a building component that comes with a warranty, a manufacturer's warranty, and also a labor warranty. So let's look at a building. You have doors, you have roofs, you have siding, landscaping, and mechanical equipment, electrical equipment. There could be numerous items, and each comes with a warranty, specific warranty. You want to know what that is. You want a copy of that. You also want a copy of the repair and maintenance instructions. Why is that important? Because if you don't know how to maintain the roof and there's a roof leak, and you call the developer and say, my roof's leaking, and it's under warranty, and then the roofer comes out and he goes, oh, this is due to lack of maintenance, so we're not going to fix it for free. Here's a proposal from us to fix your roof because you didn't maintain it properly. You don't want to get caught in that kind of situation. Okay, so warranties, all the warranty documents, read it, and have somebody make a spreadsheet listing down all your components, all the warranties, when the warranty expires, when you're supposed to have inspections done, and so forth, what you need to do, and then the phone number of who to call. Because when you call the developer, they're going to just say, I'll call the roofer or call the plumber. Okay, so you want to be able to have that list. Also, you want the list of all contractors, consultants, and everybody who had anything to do with the property, so you know who's involved. A lot of times it's already on the plans, but you don't know what contractor did what. A general contractor hires a subcontractor. That subcontractor may hire his own subcontractor, and you don't know who they are. So you want to get the list. Also, any insurance policies that the developer had in place that is turned over and carried over to the association. Okay, a reserve study, you want that, although I'll talk about that later. You want any inspection reports by the architect, engineers, contractors, consultants, and good luck getting that, because the developer is going to say it's proprietary. You're not entitled to that information. So like, oh, what are they hiding? And then also the money, financial documentation, financial statements. How did the developer make their operating budget? How did they make the reserve budget? And when they turn it over, what money was collected and what money is going to be turned over to the condo association at that time? Now, there may be the developer saying, well, we only allotted operational expenses and all that relative to when we own the property, and once it's turned over to the association, we're not turning over any money, right? And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because where's the warranty on it? And normally, let's say, for instance, landscaping. When we're doing a development project, we put in a contract with the landscaper that you're to maintain the property for 60, 90 days or 120 days after the property is completed, substantial completion, and you're to maintain it for free. In other words, you're supposed to come in and water, come in and cut the grass, fertilize and all that, make sure the shrubs are trimmed, and for free. And then after that time period, then the association can contract with you or contract with somebody else to take over. Okay, so there's a lot of detailed stuff that goes into this, and you'd be surprised. And the average condo unit owner, they don't know this stuff, because they buy the unit, they're either going to live in it or it's investment, and they're not involved in board functions or property management functions or anything like that. That's why it's critical to start from the beginning. Okay, now I didn't want to talk to you about the reserve study it first, but um, this is the time to do it. Order your own reserve study. Do not agree to the developer's reserve study. And you can accept the reserve study, but you don't have to agree with it. And why? Okay, there's several things. A lot of times the developer does their own reserve study, or they hire their property management company to do the reserve study. Okay. I consider it a conflict of interest because you don't have an independent person doing the reserve study. A lot of times developers go to their favorite property management company and say, here, do the reserve study. Or if the developer does it on their own, guess what? The numbers are wrong, okay? Not all the numbers are wrong, but, and I'll explain to you why the numbers could be incorrect, okay? And it may not be the developer's fault in some respects, but take, for instance, the developer is building this building, okay, this high-rise building or townhouse project or whatever. And, you know, I like to use high-rise because there's a lot more high-rises going up than townhouses. So the developer makes his spreadsheet and he goes out to bid and he gets all his numbers from the general contractor, and it costs X amount of millions to build this high-rise project. When the developer does his reserve study, he's going to go back and look at the numbers, right? And take, for instance, the roof. That's the cost of the roof that the developer paid. It's not the cost of the roof if the roof needs to be replaced that the homeowner association is going to pay, because the number's too low. Let's say the developer has 5 buildings that he's building and the general contractor is using the same roofing contractor, and the roofing contractor says, yeah, I'll give you a deal because you're giving me five big jobs. Do you think the condo association can get the roof done at the same price? No way. Impossible. That never happened. So that's why in this example, the roofing number is way understated. So if the developer is taking numbers from their own worksheet, and as far as what they paid, that's not what the condo association is going to pay when it's time to redo the roof. So the same with painting, concrete repair, plumbing, or electrical, or any mechanical equipment and that kind of thing. That's why I'm saying use an independent third-party person to do the reserve study. Then the numbers are more real. They're more realistic, okay? The other thing is talking about operating expense. If the operating expenses of the developer is done ahead of time, that's not the same operating expense that the homeowners association is going to pay, because they calculate the cost of common area, electrical for lighting and all that. Well, when they're building the building and they're selling units, let's say, and the building is half built, their electric bill is like cut in half because not every single floor has lighting. So what happens is when the association takes over, then all of a sudden they look at their electric bill because it's fully occupied and they go, oh, wait a minute, what happened here? How come the number is like 2 or 3 times higher? Well, that's the reason. And the reason is not the utility cost increase. The reason is because initially the number was too low in the beginning. So you got to have people scrutinize the operating expenses and the reserve expenses and get a real picture, get the facts, okay? And that's very important. And that's my rant on reserve studies. And the other critical thing is, if the number is off, you want to know what the new number is. You want to know the reason why when a property is brand new and all of a sudden there's a huge increase in maintenance fees to cover reserves. This is part of the reason, and it could be the main reason, because there was underfunding in the beginning anyway. And if you're a developer, wouldn't you want to say, oh, our maintenance fees are only $300 a month based on our reserve study? But that's not the real number. If you look around and you take a reading of what's a one bedroom in Kaka'ako that's X amount of square feet? What is their maintenance fees for that? And if you do that study and then all of a sudden you look at the brand new building, well, how come the average maintenance is $500 a month and then this brand new building is 300? And you gotta kind of scratch your head and say, well, what's going on here? Is it because this unit that I'm buying in this new building has less amenities? Maybe that's the reason, okay? But maybe not, so. Okay, so the other thing is that don't be intimidated by the developer, okay? And communicate with the developer and the development team often. And you may get the runaround. And let me share this thing with you that's kind of been a thorn in my side. When a building is first built, okay, you don't have any access. Nobody has access to it as a buyer. So you put in an offer, it's accepted, and you're buying the unit. Okay, the developer notifies you when you can come and do your punch list inspection or final inspection. Okay, and here's my gripe. The developer tells you when and where and what time. And sometimes they even tell you you can't bring your inspector. And when they allow your inspector, they give parameters such as you have to come on this day and time because that's when we're going to do the walkthrough, and you're only allowed 45 minutes to come in and inspect. Okay, and so if you bring in your inspector, the inspector only has 45 minutes to inspect the unit. And what if it's a 3,000 square foot penthouse unit? You only get 45 minutes. So that's totally unfair. The other thing that's unfair is that the inspector doesn't get any plans and specs to look at. He just goes to the unit and looks around. And I've been there before. I've inspected a lot of brand new condos, and you're there with the developer's rep who may not have any knowledge of construction, and he has no clue about what the plans and specs say. Because when I asked him, he goes, well, I'm not sure. And I said, okay, well, give me a copy of the plans and specs. And then the developer says, you're not entitled to get a copy. Well, how do I know if this is done right or not? Well, too bad. The other thing is that the developer has a list of tolerances, which I don't agree. Some of it is, well, when you do your inspection, you have to stand 6 feet away to inspect. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. They can't be telling me how to inspect. I can go right up to the wall and look if I want. And the tolerances are, oh, if you can fit a dime in the crack in the tile grout, then that's within the tolerance. And I'm like, I don't agree with that. So, be careful. There's a lot of things that I don't agree with that condo units shouldn't agree with either. In fact, I can't understand why my buyer is paying 3.5 million for a condo unit, and I'm only allowed 45 minutes to do inspection. And when I ask for plans and specs to back up my defects, I don't get anything, and all I get is a bunch of malarkey, and no results. So you say that maybe it's political. Maybe it's something that the developer just tries to be in their ivory tower and not cooperate. And why don't you ask around? Ask realtors, ask buyers of other condo units. What has been your experience working with the developer when you went to buy the unit? What happened? And then more importantly is what happens if you had problems after you close and try to contact the developer? What happened there? What kind of feedback did you get? Did you get excuses, or did somebody actually come out and fix it? And that's something that would be good to know. And a lot of information I'm giving you is based on firsthand knowledge that I experienced myself after working with developers homeowners and real estate people and property managers. So I'm also involved in um, some situations now where it's construction defect, allegations with over new projects, and it's no fun. I can tell you more stories about what the communication is with the developer, and it's not good. It's just dragging on and on. But anyway, um, that's basically the gist of my presentation in a nutshell. It's very fast, short and sweet. I want to leave time for Q&A, but let me go through some things. What you miss along the lines of our webinar series, and to tie into this developer transition, I've given webinar on construction defects and also on warranties, roofing, concrete spalling. So you missed probably at least 12 webinars, but don't worry, because you can go to our website and it's all available. Our webinars are recorded and you can watch on demand. Select which ones you want to watch, and it's all free. I don't charge, and that's our wanting to give back to the community and help condo owners. And then what's coming up? We got the top 10 OSHA violations and building envelope problems, and then also other topics coming up that are important. So if you go to our website, let me bring it up here. Our website is askbuildingexpert.now.site, and you go there and you can register for future webinar. You can watch webinars that we've done already. We have other free stuff that you can get, and we're all about helping condo owners, property managers, board members, unit owners, and all that. And that's the reason why we do this. And it's fun for us to be able to share our knowledge and information and ask questions. And by the way, after this webinar is completed, if you have any questions later that that you may think of, just call us up or send us an email. We get sometimes I feel like a Dear Abby or something like that, because we get a lot of emails and calls from people asking, and a lot of times their scenarios the same as somebody else. So when you get into the situation of construction defects, talk to your neighbors in the building and see, and you may be surprised at what you find. So once again, thank you for attending. I'm going to open it up now to questions, comments, or anything, and Martin will read the comments or questions on the chat or on the Q&A or even on the Facebook Live. So I'd like to turn it over right now to Martin, and you'll see if there's any questions from the audience.
Okay, Lance, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can see you too.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to stop share and we'll see you even better. Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, well,
this topic is a hot topic. I would think I would be surprised if no one had any questions.
Well, we've a few that have come in. Let me ask you the first one here. It says, I recently bought a new condo and never knew about these things. Yep, me too. How can I be sure that the developer turns over all documents and follows up on fixing things? That's a good question.
Okay, so there's two issues. One is making sure the developer turns over all the documents, and you can ask your property management company for a list, or you could also ask a third-party expert, and it could be somebody like me. It could be a company that is an engineering company that does inspections. It could be an attorney. In fact, I would probably recommend going to the association attorney and asking the attorney, what documents do you think we need? And the attorney's advice is probably going to be good, because most condo attorneys that I work with already know this stuff, but some of them would defer to me with respect to the inspection issues or reserve study and all that. The attorney would give them a list of legal documents that are needed and all that, and then I can fill in the rest. So can you ask that question again? I think I missed one part of it.
Yeah, the second part, Lance, was how can I be sure that the developer turns over all documents which you addressed and follows up on fixing things? The
Oh,
fix-ups.
okay. That's a key. This is a whole another webinar. But basically, I think some of it is covered on my construction defect webinar, but basically the follow-up is the key. Let me back up. Before a year or two goes on, you may want to get, I'm saying you may, I'm going to say you must get your transition inspection completed. And if I didn't cover it before, a transition inspection is a third-party expert that comes in, and I'm saying third-party expert because I don't expect you to do it yourself if you're a condo owner, a board member, or property manager. You hire a third-party expert, and that's a transition inspection, and that company will inspect the whole building, grounds, and everything and make a list, okay? And based on that list, your inspection report, you give that to the developer. Wouldn't it be nice to give the developer that list within year one of completion and say, hey, developer, we did our own inspection and we found all these problems. So here's your list, and please tell us when you're going to take care of it and who's going to come and what they're going to do and all that. So that's the key. Then from there, you track it. You don't just give them a list and say, here's your list, take your time or whatever. No, you have somebody stay on top of it. Send a letter to the developer every month saying, the list that we sent you on this date, can you give us an update? Here's a spreadsheet. Tell us like yes or no, whether you're going to complete it or not, or your comments. And sometimes the developer is going to say, that's not our responsibility, or we're checking with the architect, or sometimes you get nothing, right? And so you go through that correspondence every month. You don't let it go 6 months or 9 months or 2 years later. I've seen some where I get hired and I'm going, well, where's the correspondence? And I look, oh, well, here's a letter we sent to the developer 2 years after the developer, finished the project. And I'm like, okay, good. So where's all the correspondence that happened, year 3, 4, and 5? Oh, well, nobody was really following up. We made a few calls, but they didn't call back, or they said they look into it. Go, no, unacceptable. You got to follow up, because what happens is it's not forever. When the date comes when the warranty is done, the warranty is expired, the developer has no ability or requirement to go back and fix something when you let them know 12 years later. And it's a 10-year warranty. So that's why you got to do it early on. Okay, so I don't want to impress too much, but it's very important, because if you don't notify the developer and the fix costs a lot of money, do you want to be paying 1.2 million to fix something that the developer should have fixed under a warranty claim, but you failed to notify the developer in time, and then your time's up? Under statute of limitations, it's not forever, right? So that's critical. The timing is very, very important. So hopefully I answered that question and gave a few of my own comments. But what else we got?
Yeah, good tips, Lance. Yeah, we get a couple more here. Our property management company does our reserve study. So why do we need someone else to do it?
Okay, because at times the property management company may work so closely with the developer, it may be a conflict of interest, or it may be construed as a conflict of interest, or there may be, you know, a perception of a conflict. That's why you get some independent third party that specializes in reserve studies. That's all they do, reserve studies. Property management company, their focus is on property management, not doing reserve studies. And I've talked to many people on, mostly on the mainland, and the feedback I get is they're saying that the property management companies that do the reserve study for condo associations have a conflict of interest inherently because they don't do that for a living, and that's not their specialty. Okay, and the other issue is that later years, when the property management company does it and they take the reserve study from the developer and they use those numbers, already the reserve study that that property management company does is already faulty and erroneous because they took the numbers from the developer that were wrong to begin with. Okay, and that's one of the downsides to this whole issue. The other thing is, check very carefully what the reserve study actually states. What kind of reserve study is it? Is it a level 1, 2, or 3? If it's a level 3 or 2, which is an update and not a full-scale reserve study, that's not, I don't consider that a reserve study. It's called a reserve study, but that's not a full level 1. And I gave a webinar on reserve studies. If you need more information, go check the webinar because I explained the whole thing, the difference. And most unit owners have no clue. They think a reserve study is a reserve study, but there's a huge difference that can make a big impact on finances. So yeah, that's the reason why it's better to use a third party anyway, so that there's no perception of a conflict. We got anything else? Martin, your microphone is off.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. The next question is, are you aware of any lawsuits pertaining to this topic where the condo association filed a lawsuit against the developer?
Oh, there's hundreds of lawsuits all across the United States. You know, for mainly construction defects, okay, and other shenanigans, but mainly construction defects. So specific to Hawaii, almost every single condo being built, a new condo, has some kind of conflict, whether it's an actual lawsuit or whether it's some kind of arbitration or mediation or talk story. It's all there. I don't think there's one new condo where there's no conflict, and it's pretty easy. If you want to go check online, or you know, I can, in Honolulu, I can name a whole bunch. Moana Pacific. There's still an ongoing issue over defects. There's building Ko'olani, which settled for 12 million. I was actually the lead construction defect expert on that one. There was arbitration, mediation on that. There's the newer buildings going up in Kaka'ako. There's Waiea, which is a big one. I think it was 105 million settlement or something. But it happens all the time, and developers know that, and insurance companies know that. They know that when you're dealing with a condo association, it's a different animal. It's not like one homeowner. You gotta you know, please 350 homeowners instead of just one. And that's why there's a huge risk in developing condo buildings, you know, in Hawaii and across the United States, just because of the potential for lawsuits and, you know, what the legal ramifications are. The actual law in Hawaii is really strict. It actually considers a condo unit owner and a condo association as a consumer, and a consumer has additional rights more than a regular homeowner does. So you combine your condo unit owner rights with your rights as a consumer, and you got laws that can protect you as a unit owner and a condo association. The big problem is that the boards have to be run correctly, and they can't have any developer interests on the board. But it goes without saying, every time a developer finishes a building, they want to have somebody on the development team or connected with the developer on the board. And then you have this developer controlled board, which leads the association down the wrong path. Okay. And there's already a conflict. I think the law should be changed, the condo law, that the developer cannot sit on the condo board, or anybody connected with the developer that had any interest with the developer, work for the developer as a contractor or a consultant, or is a friend of the developer or a relative of the developer. I mean, you'll see in time that it's not a good thing. It's politics, and that's not right when you're dealing with people's livelihood, their money. They invested millions of dollars in their condo unit, and now someone else is controlling their interests. That's just totally not right. But hey, that happens. It happens every single day. It's been happening for years. And how do I know that? I used to be a developer, and I know from the developer standpoint what happens. As a developer, we want to put our people on the board of a new condo because we want to control things, and we want to be the one that calls the shots. We don't want too many people saying our building's defective and all of that, and it's going to cost us more money to fix the problem and get things resolved. So it's just politics at play. And if anybody disagrees with me, I'm happy to talk, because it's out there. I have inside information on stuff because I talk to a lot of people, and that work for developers and sell condo units and property management companies. And I'm actually on condo boards myself. I'm on 3 condo boards, so I know what goes on. So what are other questions we have?
Yes, Lance, unless any others come through the chat or our Facebook and Zoom, I have one more here. This question pertains to a unit that I bought. Well, not me personally, but the questioning person is asking. Recently, during the punch list inspection, everything looked okay. But 2 years later, I noticed cracks in tile grout, poor ventilation, rattling, knocking noises, and other stuff. I wrote to the developer and they said, you inspected the unit, accepted the condition, and signed off 2 years ago, so nothing can be done. Sorry. What's your answer to that one there, Lance?
What? The developer says, sorry, nothing can be done? Jeez, that's a
I threw
total.
that in.
Huh? Oh, well, actually, that's true, because I've seen correspondence from developers and developer reps that say exactly that. And I've had calls from unit owners calling me with the same story. And they go, I just want to know, because you're the expert, I think I don't have any claim because it's 2 years and my 1-year warranty is over. And the developer said, specifically that I did a final inspection. I signed off on the form. They even sent the form with their signature saying, this is a final punch list and I accepted the unit. And, I reviewed the form and it's like touch up paint here and there. There's scuff marks on the floor, a dirty window, cosmetic stuff, okay? But then when it comes to, you know, structural things or things of importance, like water leaking in at their window or structural cracks, how can a developer say, tough luck, you know, you signed off, okay? But let me tell you this, and for unit owners who are in the same situation, even if you sign the form saying, you know, you're signing off accepting the property, that doesn't mean you can't go back to the developer and ask for things to be fixed. What that means is at that time you did the inspection, that's what you noticed. So for instance, on paint, if you moved in and you scuffed the walls or you're moving furniture in, yeah, you can't go back to the developer, but there's many things that you can go back to the developer, like, you know, your toilet is overflowing, it's clogged, and it's due to some obstruction in a pipe that has nothing to do with you, or ventilation problems or whatever. You have every right, and let me stress that, you have every right as a condo owner to go to the developer and ask them to fix these things, okay? And if they say you signed the form, tough luck, because if it's a warranty claim, if it's a construction defect claim, your signing off has no bearing. So the developer can't say you signed the form and tough luck. You have every right to go back even after, I don't care what form you sign, okay? So in Hawaii, there's a statute of limitations. There's usually 10 years to go back to the developer. Keep going back to the developer and talk to your unit owner neighbors and ask them if they have the same problem, right? And just keep writing. The problem is the developer doesn't want to hear from you, right? And do you get the feeling that they're trying to intimidate you? No, don't stand for that. Write to the board, write to the property management company, attend the board meetings. In fact, why don't you try to get on the board and offer to be on the committee? Oh, volunteer. Oh, because you can't be on the board because it's developer controlled. Well, why don't you submit a letter saying, I offer to be on the construction committee. In fact, I'll offer to chair the construction committee. How about that? Or, you know, I can be a member and try to get more active. And historically, the developer doesn't want to hear from these unit owners. So they try and make excuses or send somebody there, send a rep there, say, you know, you're the only unit that has this problem. So, you know, deal with it, or that's not our responsibility to fix. But who's telling you that, and what basis do they have on giving you that information? Did they have an expert come in and look at it? Say you have a rattling sound and they go, well, you know, that's typical. You know, you can't expect, we didn't make a soundproof unit for you. Oh yeah, I understand that, but the rattling noise, what does that do to? Is that a defect? And if they tell you, oh, that's normal, don't accept that, okay? Ask, can you bring in the architect, bring in the mechanical engineer? Who designed the plans? Who actually built the air conditioning? Bring in that contractor. Can you bring these guys in and have them inspected and tell me what's going on? And then sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if they do, they may give you a bogus letter that says, oh, we looked at it and nothing's wrong. Okay, then you might have to go get your own expert. And, you know, herein lies the problem. If the developer was conscientious and following through on these things, they could take care of these problems easily. Why does a condo unit owner association have to go hire an attorney to go and file a lawsuit because these things aren't fixed? It just makes no sense. And it's easy for the developer to ask their people to fix it because it's not costing them any money. If I was a developer, I'd say, hey, John architect, Joe engineer, or Jane contractor, I hired you to build this building and we got unit owners complaining. I want you to go there and check it out and tell me what's up. And if nothing's wrong, be honest and, you know, we'll say nothing's wrong. But if there's a problem, I expect you to deal with it. What's wrong with that? How much more does the developer have to pay for that? Nothing. These guys have already got paid already, right? And if I was a developer, I'm the king. I would go to these guys and go, hey, if you want other jobs from me, I expect you to take care of my people. Who's my people? My people are the condo unit owners. If these condo unit owners didn't buy into the project, the developer wouldn't be making any money. But they have this like big idea. So, and I'm not talking about every single developer. I'm talking about the ones that don't cooperate. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I have good friends that are developers, and I'm not putting them in this category. I'm putting other people in this category. So I know that that's the end of our hour, and I probably talked too much, but I'm kind of voicing my opinion here because many people don't know this stuff. And how do I know that? When I get calls and I talk to people, they don't know this information. So it's critical. So I guess we'll check the Facebook comments later since we ran out of time. And I can go on Facebook and answer the questions or do whatever I need to do. So thank you everybody for attending. I hope you got a lot of information. This is good stuff. And it's facts, information based on my experiences, and I got a lot more to tell. So stay tuned, sign up for our next webinar, and hope to see you again. Aloha.
Just hit the